taking control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Feel your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
They let us play with all our toys. They let us think that we're big boys. They let us make the louder noise, but women rule the world. They let us think we're Superman, that we're the only ones who can be strong, but we break on command, 'cause women rule the world.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you along for the ride if you're listening in on Spaced Out Radio's website, spacedoutradio.com, on Spreaker, along with Revolution Radio. As we come in to Uncle Jimbo's cabin, broadcasting as we normally do in the warm, sunny British Columbia. I wish it was warm, but that's just the way it is. We're right here at the Great White North, live on this Thursday night, early Friday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we broadcast 3 hours a night, 7 days a week, as we want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, the paranormal, the cryptozoological, the conspiratorial, and so much more. Hey, if you haven't heard our music yet, I suggest you check out the guitar god himself, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Bumblefoot is the official sound of Spaced Out Radio. Also, you can check us out on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Find us on TuneIn. Download our shows from iTunes. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, we'd like to say hello to everyone listening in on the Revolution Radio chat room, on the High Plains Talk Radio Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, along with our fans on Facebook at Euphoria Chronicles, Chronicles of the Unknown, Forest Moon Paranormal, and our flagship chat room, the SOR Space Travelers. If you haven't signed up for the SOR Space Travelers Club yet, it's time. It's $5 a month, and with that, your name gets entered in a monthly prize draws. You get access to private group interviews, access to a special section on our website, and so much more. We're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. While on our website, you can also read up on our latest blogs. Check Eric Markham's SOR Spacewire for the latest and weird news. And we now have the SOR Sightlines report right there for you. If you're an experiencer, you've seen Bigfoot, aliens, UFOs, paranormal, Dogman, fill out a Sightlines report. Our lead researcher, Mike Schmidt, is going to get a hold of you. He's going to write up a report for our website. All your personal information is 100% confidential. Remember, if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, the Double R Machine is the largest non-profit online radio station going. Do us a favor. Take the time to visit freedomslips.com and donate today. Tonight on Spaced Out Radio, we have a familiar voice joining us to talk about what intrigues us all. The topic of choice for tonight? Conspiracies. Barry Strohm, whom when he was on last on Spaced Out Radio, was a few weeks after having open heart surgery, and he mustered up the strength to do a live channeling session with his favorite extraterrestrial contact, Mu. Now, Mu is a spirit of an alien that communicates and has helped Barry write his last few books. His next book, Spirit Speaks, of the Conspiracies and Mysteries is due out in February 2017. This is going to be one of those books that will be highly anticipated as well as highly critiqued by those who are in the Five Senses Club. Yes, the skeptics. From JFK to Billy the Kid, right up there to the rigging of presidential elections and aliens, Barry has channeled some pretty fantastic material that he stands behind as the spirit world has provided him the information. This is a show you may question, and of course, you're allowed. After all, who's to say the spirits got it right? Especially on our own timeline. Lots of questions tonight for Mr. Barry Strohm. His wife Connie's hanging out in the background. Barry, Connie, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
Thank you. We are doing great.
Yep. Yeah, it's an honor to be here as always. It's love talking to you guys out there in the far west.
Well, we love having you on too, and I absolutely appreciate any chance I get to have a conversation with you, because what I love about you, Barry, and I have no problem saying this on public radio, is you're the type of guy where you're level-headed, you make sure that you are factual, you're a skeptic of some sort. Even though you've had all these experiences, you still question everything, yet you're open-minded enough to be channeling these messages and these stories and these inclinations of spirits coming through a channeling board with you. How do you hold it all together to find what is the right information and what is just BS?
Well, when we got started in this, the guides told us to always question. Their exact words were that there's scammers on both sides of the veil. Just dying doesn't make you stop lying, So, yeah, every once in a while we ask questions and we find out that we have a bad one with us, and we just short-circuit them and end the session. But I always, whenever we're trying to talk to a well-known spirit, I do a lot of research before we try to contact him so that I can ask him trick questions and test them to make sure we got the right guys. And most of the time we do, but every once in a while they try to slip one in on us.
So how do you vet your information through the spirit board to confirm it? Take us through that. Or is that like Kentucky Fried Chicken, the secret spices, or it's just your secret?
No. Each one is separate. For instance, I have a chapter in the new book on King Richard III. And when we had his spirit come in, I said, tell me something, prove to me that I am really talking to King Richard III. And he spilled out the word Farthingay, and he was born in Farthingay Castle in England. So it'd have to be a pretty sharp scammer to know that little piece of information. So we always ask very detailed questions to start out, and you can tell if you're being misled.
So, Barry, you talk through a channeling board. Your writings have come through a channeling board. You're someone who is extremely talented at what you do. At what point in life did you decide that the channeling board was the best way to try and figure out life's little mysteries?
Well, we started out like almost every other paranormal investigator. Bear in mind, I never believed in ghosts till I was about 60 years old. We started doing investigations with professional groups, and we used the ghost box, and we would be with psychics that could get messages, but we never had the detail that we were looking for. And we were introduced to some friends out in Salt Lake City that had been doing board channeling for 30 years, and they invited me to a session, and I realized that this was the way you can get the absolute detail that you need if you're going to be believable. And we record every word on video. I have every session that we've ever used in a book, I have video on record on my computer and can prove every word of it. The board gives you an advanced look at the details of what you're trying to get. It's an incredible tool. Everybody is telling me that a lot of people are afraid of Ouija boards. I'm forever getting emails warning me not to do this. But we've done it over 400 hours, and we've got some pretty amazing results. And I'm getting almost ready to send the 5th book to the publisher. And there's some incredible information in it.
Barry, when did you start this yourself? When did you start believing that this was the right way to get the information that you needed? Now, I understand how you got started, but at what point did the skeptic in you, or the person who questions everything in you, realize that what was coming forward was factual and truthful?
Well, it was a tough journey. Bear in mind, I have a business degree. I got a minor in statistics and a civil engineering license. So I've always had a scientific background. And I was a vehement skeptic up until I was, as I say, around 60. And then hanging out in this store, my antique gallery here in Pennsylvania, the spirits just started to show me where the truth was. And we had a lot of things happening. And it was a slow journey learning. But by about 5 years ago, when we started to totally rely on the board channeling, that's when I was really hooked.
Do you enjoy it, or do you just use it for your own research for your writings?
I absolutely love it. The idea that you can actually sit down and ask to speak to an incredible individual like General Patton or Jack Kennedy, and that the spirits will actually come through and talk to you. It's an overwhelming experience. I'm hoping to do this until I'm on the other side with them. We're blessed to have this ability, and I intend to push it to the extent that I can push it to. We love the ability just to be able to sit down and channel and ask questions and just kind of do our own thing with it. Quite often, Connie and I will just sit here by ourselves and get on the channeling board and ask questions. One question will lead to another, and next thing you know, you're starting to write another book. It's an incredible path that we've been put on. I realize that it's the karma of what we're supposed to be doing, and we're going to do our best to fulfill the karma. They told me I'm supposed to write 11 books, and I'm at number 5. I got a few to go, and I will tell you, when I hit number 11, I'm going to write real slow and try to put it off as long as I can, because
that's at least a 4 or 5 year book at minimum.
I would think it'll take me a while to write that last one, but they'll probably outsmart me. It'll be like the Unfinished Symphony.
Oh, geez. I hope not. I hope not. It's always a pleasure to have you on this show, Bear. And, one of the things that I absolutely love having you on for is your trite communication. You're very matter-of-fact about it. Obviously, with what you do, there are the people who believe, there's the people who want to believe, and then there's what I call the five senses people who don't believe anything. You could have an alien standing right in front of a person. They'll say, well, that doesn't exist. You know the people I'm talking about. How do you deal with the critics to defend what you are doing?
I tell them that they have their beliefs, I have mine, and I am making no attempt to change what they believe in. If they cannot open their mind to the world around them, then that's their own decision. That's their karma. They have to live with it.
No, I understand that, and that's a very easy answer to give, but do you feel that people are opening up a little bit more, or do you feel that this is something that is way too out there for many in the mainstream to even accept?
I believe about 50% of the people are ready to accept it. Most people have actually had paranormal experiences. They just don't simply realize what they've had. They've had deceased family members come to them in dreams. They've had glimpses. They've had feelings in their stomach when something happens. They've had voices that are warning them. They simply do not realize that is spirit intervention. And many of them have this incredible fear of dying. And the fear of death it's really a scary thing. To the spirits, death is the beginning. To us, death is the end. And I've talked to so many spirits. It's really pretty cool over there. I'm not rushing to get there, but it's not something I fear in any way.
Did it really calm you down? Because I know there's a lot of people out there, including myself, Barry, who have major anxiety when it comes to death. We like it here. We kind of like breathing. We like the mountains, the water, the people, the family, the friends, the household pets, the trips to Vegas or Disneyland or Mexico. We like those things, and we never want to give that up. And we don't want to age. We all wish we were Peter Pan. But in your sense, from what you have learned, is there anything for people to fear once they expire on this side?
No. Every time we talk to a spirit, they tell us that it's actually better over there than what they anticipated. They're happy. They're sorry for the grief that their passing causes, and quite often that's why they don't move on. But death is definitely not something to fear. I mean, you have to also believe in reincarnation like we do, because I know 100% that at some point we're going to be coming back to do this again. It's all part of the learning process. We've been here many times, and we're going to be back many times. And I just went through quadruple bypass surgery and carotid artery surgery this year. And I can tell you, when I went into the operating room, I went in with no fear. The guides had told us everything was going to work out, so I'm sure that helped a bit too. But death really isn't something that I fear. I would fear what happens to the people, to the messes I still have back here that I haven't been able to take care of. But my soul is very comfortable in the fact that it's going to be venturing over onto the other side and sometime in the not too far future. I'm 74 years old, so there's a point coming that we're going to go over and see what it's really like. But no, I really can say I have very little fear of it.
Well, make sure when you do, you stop by and say hello. I would appreciate it. I'll show you around the house. Maybe the deer will be in the backyard, maybe a bear or a cougar or something, but make sure you stop by. But you got 6 more books to go, and that last one's going to be at least 25 years to write. So you got a long one going. So it's all
I think
good.
the title for the last one is going to be War and Peace.
It should be. It absolutely should be.
All 1,000 pages of it. So,
yes, otherwise known as the Women's Guide and Handbook.
Yeah, really.
But anyways, enough about that. There is so much going on right now with conspiracies and, extraterrestrial contact. We're seeing so much as everything seems so uneasy going into this United States election. What are the spirits saying on the other side about everything that is going on? Because 2016 has been tumultuous for a lot of people.
We keep asking questions, and we know the guides aren't going to tell us anything that'll have any effect on changing history. They're very, very reluctant, but what they have told us is not to get involved with it. The reality is that an individual can do very little about it, and what they tell you is that if you project happiness, you'll be happy. If you project worry and consternation over everything that's taking place around you, you'll be worried and upset. And spirits are very worried about your individual soul and the soul experience that you're living through. And I really tried to just kind of stay above it. It's impossible with all the crap going on down here right now, but it's going to pass. We've been told that after the election, things will calm down again, and we will all go on. It's not going to be the end of time. I'm talking to way too many famous spirits that are getting ready to reincarnate and come back. So it's not the end of times, and it's probably not the worst of times. But it's one hell of an interesting time, I'll give it that.
Absolutely. It is an interesting time, and I think the whole world literally is watching this situation really pan out. But I guess year of 2016 has been the year of confirmation for a lot of conspiracy theorists out there. On the Democratic side, leading up, we saw Hillary Clinton, who has committed so many different errors that it's amazing that she isn't being prosecuted for it. And we know that the Democratic nomination was rigged to get Barry Sanders out of the running because he isn't one of the elite, one of the 1%. On the Republican side, we have literally Mittens Romney coming out before Donald Trump was nominated saying we have to stop Donald Trump from embarrassing our party and we should do anything by any means necessary. And for the conspiracy theorists, they finally took their tinfoil hats off and took that bow to say, we've been telling you all along, we are right, the elections are rigged. You know, how does this play out in the spirit world, or have you talked to spirit about the 2016 presidential election? Because it is starting to make the conspiracy theorists look very brilliant right now, even if the mainstream is not hopping on board.
Oh no, it's happening just the way they've told us about it. I've got a chapter in a new book coming out on the One World Order, folks. And one thing that they told us was that basically the Bushes, the Clintons, they're all part of the same team. And guess what? The Bushes are not backing Trump and doing the best to split the things and throw it over to Clinton right now. It's everything. If you pay attention to the conspiracy theories, you will see it's all coming together. And when you look a little deeper into what's taking place, it's exactly what they talk about. In Nazi Germany, the first thing they did was control the press, and then they tried to control the firearms and take them away from the people. Well, the mainstream media is incredibly selective at what they're telling us. A ton of stuff came out today that you're not seeing on the news. And if you look at the One World Order conspiracy theories, you will see that it is just falling into line in many, many places right now.
Do you feel then, as your new book coming out in February is all about conspiracies, do you feel that people are starting to open up their eyes and just say, we've had it, we've had enough, we're not taking this anymore? Because it could go one of two ways. The 1%, the Rothschilds, the Bilderbergs, whatever you want to call them, okay, they could take it one way and cause all the havoc like they have been doing the last few years, or may we see another revolution to clean house and say this isn't the way that freedom is supposed to be brought about?
Everybody says that things will work out. It's going to take a while, 10, 20 years, but things will work out. When we channeled with George Patton, our famous general from World War II, he's preparing to come back and reincarnate. And he always comes back to fight into some military. My guess is that within 40, 50 years, we're going to see a major military conflict. And I believe that's the reason he's planning on coming back.
As long as it's not on this side, I would be okay with that. That's why we have them over there. You know, they're over there. They're far away. It doesn't happen here. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're coming to a neighborhood near you, too. So it's we all have that problem. They have told us a bunch of things. That, for instance, they told us that it is written in the plans by the One World Order that there will be a war between the West and the Muslims, and that it will accelerate, and that we will know when World War III is taking place because you will see that Israel has become involved in it. And I think that is a very real prediction, and we're looking at things right now. Iran's moving their ships into Gulf of Yemen. We just attacked some radar sites that are backed by the Iranians, and I just think we're going to see the acceleration of it, especially until we see who our new president is.
Yes, and it couldn't happen at a worse time with a lame duck president in the White House right now, just basically shaking hands and drinking the tea as much as possible to enjoy his last few months in office. It is scary. It is an ugly, ugly time. We have a lot of people out there who believe that everything should be happening this way, that we got to start taking out more leaders, causing more conflicts, and we have a whole different set of people who say enough is enough. We're tired of war. We're tired of going into other countries and seeing our tax dollars, build up the military-industrial complex before we're taking care of our own people at home. You say that the board says this is going to continue for the next little bit.
Yeah. I'm seeing that it's going to continue for at least the next 10 years. Unfortunately.
Well, as long as they leave Las Vegas alone, I'll be happy.
I'm not sure. I can honestly say I have not checked on that.
Well, before I go next, over the next 10 years, I am checking with you, my friend. Because I know for a fact with my luck personally, I would go down there, I would pull the one-armed bandit, I'd finally win the big one, and then someone yells jihad or something along those lines, and blows up the place. And I'm standing there right in the middle. That is my luck. So I'm going to communicate with you before I go down there again to make sure that it's a good time to go.
Yeah, I was wondering if I could take a channeling board into a casino. I wonder how that would go over.
I wonder. That would actually be very interesting to see if that would happen, if they would allow you to do that. Sitting at one of the local restaurants or coffee shops, and all of a sudden you pull out your board and bingo, there you go. That would be kind of interesting.
It would be an interesting experiment. I can't wait to try it. You'll have to meet me in Las Vegas.
Oh, I can do that. When you and Connie finally make the move to Utah, I will come down there and we'll try it out in Vegas at a casino. I'm sure we will only get maybe the board set up before we get told that we have to leave, So that's just my prediction of that whole thing.
I think you are psychic in this matter, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not interested in the world topics. Point me to the slot machine that is going to pay off big. That's what we got to do.
I'm game.
Absolutely. It is fantastic. Barry, it's always good to have you. Barry Strohm is our guest tonight. His wife, Connie, is sitting in the background. She may pipe up if you're wondering, who's that lady in the background? Well, that's Connie. Connie is the rock behind Barry Strohm, and we love to say that around here. Let's continue on with the conspiracies, okay?
Okay.
I think it's very important that we spend a lot of time tonight on the extraterrestrial experience. And the reason why I want to do that is not only have you channeled Moo, your ET contact in spirit form, through the board on this show live, but you're a big believer that extraterrestrials are here, they're real, and they're a part of planet Earth.
Absolutely. I have no doubt.
What would happen, and maybe this is a hypothetical question, let's say all hell breaks loose and there's a big World War III going on. What would happen to the extraterrestrials that are already here?
I honestly think they're just going to pull back and watch. This is part of our growing process. We've been told that from war comes compromise, and we got to learn to compromise. So I fear we're going to have some more wars to teach us that lesson. But this is all part of our evolution and learning process.
Yeah. We don't have to like it, though. We don't have to like it. Another big thing that came out recently, and I'm very curious to get your opinion on this, whether it's through the board or whether it's just your opinion with your experiences, Barry. Just a couple of days ago, WikiLeaks released another couple thousand emails, this time pertaining to John Podesta, who is Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these emails and I'm looking at them right now, are phenomenal. They took part in conversations with the late Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who was an Apollo astronaut. They took place with rock and roll star from Blink-182, Tom DeLonge. You know, this is some really crazy X-Files type stuff. Have you had a chance to review these?
No, not that part of it. I've looked at a bunch of the ones with the political implications, but I haven't got into that side of it yet.
Oh, it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Fine. They've been communicating for an awful long time, so it's, you know, when they get into some of these secret emails, there's going to be a time that the information is going to pop out.
The funny part about it is, this is what I did before the show, because I was tipped off to these alien WikiLeaks a few hours ago. I went looking around everywhere on every major news site in regards to the WikiLeaks emails and them talking about John Podesta. And you know, there was not a site I could find that actually posted the extraterrestrial talk that John Podesta was having. They all pertain to Hillary, Benghazi, vote rigging, you know, how to get the African Americans to vote for Hillary, how to get this group to vote for Hillary, and so on and so forth. Who are they almost buying off or trying to convince, whether it's the media or everything. But not one pertained to the extraterrestrial flare. Now, if you're like me, Barry, which I think you are, extraterrestrial contact and extraterrestrial visitation to Earth is probably the second biggest story in our lifetimes, next to Christ himself coming back from the heavens. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So,
and it's all the deepest, darkest secret that they keep from us.
So here we have John Podesta once again forefront and center in regards to extraterrestrial contact. And the media is dropping the ball again. Like, how stupid do you have to be? I realize there's a bunch of crap happening in the Middle East. I realize what's happening with the elections and Hillary possibly getting arrested or reinvestigated or whatever. But this is an important story. This involves all of mankind, not just some skirmish in the Middle East that could explode into all hellfire and brimstone. This could really, really be the opportunity that we are waiting for, which is contact. So when you think about that, what is your opinion when you see that the mainstream is not picking this up at all?
Well, there's an absolute reason for it. We have a treaty with the aliens. Our government has it, and all the one percenters are aware of it. It's the one percenters that own all the TV stations, or most of the radio stations, all the mainstream media. They are aware that there is an agreement that they're not supposed to talk about this, and they are living up to the agreement. They've been told. It's all about the treaty.
I understand that. Samantha Mowat, who is an ET contactee, she does a show here the second Tuesday of every month. And just so you know, if you haven't heard her before, Barry, Samantha is the young lady whom I told you about that I had my extraterrestrial experience with a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, it was the first day I had met her, like an hour after I had met her. It was absolutely ridiculous what we saw. And she was stating that if things did get ugly, her sources have stated that if things got ugly on this planet, the extraterrestrials, yes, they're staying out in the background right now, but if things got ugly, and whether it's Obama, whether it's Clinton, whether it's Trump, whoever it may be, or whether it's Putin, whether it's the Chinese, North Korea, if somebody pushes the button, the extraterrestrials have stated they will not allow this planet to be destroyed or ruined. Have you communicated at all in your spiritual contact about that?
Yes, there have actually been instances where the aliens have stepped in and stopped the destruction of our planet. They told us not to test the H-bomb. And when they did, they actually stepped in and did some kind of an of a reaction that offset the energies of the H-bomb. But Mu has said several times that we damn near destroyed our planet when we did not listen to them about testing H-bombs. So there have been several times that they have stopped in to stop our complete destruction. They apparently stepped in at the Cuban Missile Crisis and forced the Russians to back off in that. So yeah, they will step in if they've worked very hard to try to bring the humans along this far, and they would really hate to see them all go away, because then they'd have to start over again.
So even though we may break into some horrible conflict where literally millions of lives are lost for absolutely no reason, there's still the opportunity to know that nuclear fallout is just not going to be allowed by the races above.
They will step in, but just keep thinking what I said about war brings on compromise, and we have to learn to compromise and to love each other. So they're going to allow us to kill a bunch of people until we learn the lesson of the stupidity of war. All the intelligent beings in our galaxy have learned that lesson long ago, and that's why they have a treaty. They have a commission that controls us, and they don't, in spite of what you see on all the television shows, they do not fight among each other. They get along pretty darn well.
Mario has a question in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, and he is asking, Barry, do you know or have you been told the specifics of the treaty with the extraterrestrials?
Parts of it. They've told me a fair amount, and I actually kind of anticipated that question might come up. And I'm not like Hillary. I don't know the questions in advance. But I went back into my book and I pulled a couple of the quotes out where I talk about the alien treaty. And I'll read to you parts of the excerpts right out of the book.
Please do.
I asked Mu the basic terms of the treaty. His comment was, "You agreed not to tell about us, to let us walk among you, do studies on you, and to do our own manipulation. There is a lot more I cannot tell you." When I attempted to delve deeper into the content of the treaty, he said, "We will let you alone if you let us watch. You have to remember that we have been here since 3 man-like animals roamed the planet. We watched your last ice age. We have let your planet evolve with only 2 or 3 major intrusions." The tree is one reason, but when I asked the main reason for the secrecy, his answer was, fears. Today people run on fear. Look what occurred when on the radio a play came on about aliens attacking. Just a play, and people killed themselves. It was kind of a test to see what you might do. Well, we all know only the crazy believe in ghosts and aliens. But that kind of sums it up a bit, and he won't go into advanced detail on this. There are some things that he continuously tells me that he dumbs down information for my protection, and I think this is probably part of it.
Trip is asking in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, why does it seem the off-planeters are in cahoots with the rich instead of helping those in need?
The answer is because we have to evolve ourselves. If this is the pattern, then we have to work it out. It's it's evolution. They're really trying to let us evolve on our own. What they want us to do is to evolve to the point that we can travel the stars with them. But to do this, we have to learn our lessons of evolution. We think in terms of a lifetime of 70, 80 years. The aliens are thinking in terms of 1,000 years. I mean, bear in mind, Mu died at the age of 952 of our years. Time is much, they think of time much differently than we do. We have one of the shortest lifespans in the galaxy. And there's a reason for it. They only let us screw up so much in one lifetime.
they must just shake their heads sometimes up there and just say, what are you humans doing? Because, let's face it, we would be the ultimate reality TV show. We would be. Because we got a bunch of idiots sitting in every parliamentary building who are controlling millions of people, and all they have to do is yell out the word freedom or free espresso or whatever it is, and boom, they have people going for them. And yet, if I'm sitting up in the stars, putting my head inside some spaceship a couple thousand miles up from Earth, I'm tuning in because I get to see everything. It's absolutely amazing on what we do here.
Oh, yeah. No, I refer to it as them coming to watch our planet is like us going to the zoo to watch the animals. And, animals fight in the zoo. I think it's a pretty good simile.
Oh, for sure. For sure, indeed. So when we look at what is happening right now, and I want to get back into this John Podesta thing.
Okay.
John Podesta sent some emails with Edgar Mitchell, basically saying that Podesta wants to find out what the Vatican knows about the extraterrestrial presence. Have you ever talked to Moo or any of your alien contacts about what the Vatican knows about ETs?
Not specifically, but they have told us that most of the countries have had contact with ETs, and that they work with the governments that are most open to working with the aliens. For instance, he said that Obama does not communicate with the aliens, and his exact words were, is because Obama can't tell the truth, and you cannot lie to the aliens or they get really upset and bad things happen. So what he has said is that right now, other countries are more advanced with the alien help than we are. For instance, they're working very closely with Russia. And that is probably one of the reasons why the Russians are being so aggressive right now. And I'm sure the Vatican through the years has had all kinds of contact. I've just never specifically addressed that point.
I would love for you one day to take the time when you have some, because I know you're busy in retirement almost, as soon as you sell the store. I would love it if you could actually check that out, because that is such a mystical secret in regards to the Vatican. I think it's, I would love to be a fly on the wall just to see what is actually being stored there and how much they're actually truly hiding from mankind.
Well, the Vatican has the largest metaphysical collection in the world. I mean, they have been really into the metaphysical part. And keep in mind, the Vatican knows the truths that were left out of the Bible, because the Catholic Church is the one that decreed that a lot of the truths were left out. They're the ones that picked the books, and they were the organized religion after the Gospels were chosen, and they're the ones that all the missing Gospels were destroyed at the command of the Catholic Church. So they probably have some of the copies that we would love to see.
Mm-hmm. Definitely indeed. So getting back to what is happening on the U.S. government side when it comes to extraterrestrials, we have a lot of exchanges and a lot of powerful people that are pushing John Podesta, and John Podesta pushing the government officials to make this whole disclosure thing happen. Do you think they will finally cave in, or is that up to the extraterrestrials when they want disclosure?
That's up to the extraterrestrials. If they're not ready for it, it's not going to happen. Now, what will take place is disclosure over a period of time. I'm convinced that what we do is part of the disclosure process, that it's not something that you can do overnight. It has to be gradual, that people are ready to believe and open their minds. Otherwise, they're going to be petrified when they see this 12-foot reptilian walking among them. It takes a lot of preparation to get people ready for it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very, very much indeed. Very much indeed when it comes to the ETs. What would make the ETs not want disclosure to happen?
They want to do more studies on us. They're not done observing. The status quo works very well for the ETs, and I just think they're very happy with the status quo right now.
Even though the public is not, even though the public wants this to happen.
Yes, yeah. I don't think what the public wants has a whole lot to do with it right now. The ETs have been here for so long. They've been in contact with us for so long. Our governments, I think, just kind of fall in line with what they want, and they really don't want to take a chance on pissing them off.
But sometimes it's okay to stir it up a little bit.
Well, you can stir, but keep in mind, if they meant us harm, we would be so harmed.
Mm-hmm. Now, you, right there with that statement, you play a lot on what a lot of people talk about on a daily basis. And a lot of people who have had contact and experiences that hasn't been pleasant. You just said that if they wanted to cause us harm, they could very, very easily. Yet some of these species are causing people harm. Have you ever talked to Moo or any of your spirit contacts in regards to why certain extraterrestrial abductions are so belligerent and malevolent compared to others, which are trying to be more enlightening and full of love and information?
Well, the rules are changing on abductions. When I asked Moo why they do this, one of his answers was because we're trying to see how you guys are killing yourselves. They like to do DNA testing. They like to know what's going on with the human race. They're trying to steer things. I mean, after all, they've given us the Salk vaccine, MRI machines. They've been incredibly helpful through the years. But the rules have definitely changed. Back in the 1940s, they used to allow to do DNA testing of different types and DNA mixing. One thing Moo told us is one of the reasons for autism today is from the type of abduction testing that was taking place back in the 1940s. Those rules have changed. Some of it is trial and error, and I guess some of them. You're dealing with different alien types. They're supposedly well controlled, but I would think in certain instances they get a little carried away with what they want to do. I mean, after all, they have the same souls as humans. Humans get carried away with what they do. I can't imagine that it doesn't rub off on the aliens a bit.
We're told that we are supposed to have free will, Barry. Yet for a lot of people, they don't feel that free will is allowed to be imposed in regards to being a human guinea pig, lack of a better term, for extraterrestrial study. If the extraterrestrials, for the most part, are not meaning us harm, why are they, in your opinion, maybe you've asked, going against human free will?
Your soul has free will. They also have free will. Now, once you have a collision of free wills, who knows what's going to come out of it. They honestly feel that what they're doing is for the betterment of mankind. If you have to sacrifice, I mean, we've got billions of people here, so if you abuse a couple of them, I don't think it really gets them too uptight. They're trying to help us evolve, and maybe we don't see it. What they're doing is being helpful to us, but I think they honestly believe it's. They're trying to lead us and the testing. Moo actually doesn't like to refer to abductions as an abduction, but as a learning session. I think the new rules on abductions are that they're trying to implant information and they're trying to teach us. I feel that every time we've had contact with them, they've tried to give us information and to try to lead us down a road. And we've been able to do things that other people haven't. And I think it's simply because we've had several of these learning sessions.
Have you ever been abducted? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
I've been mentally abducted. Not that they've taken me physically, but that they have given me information mentally. Connie has been physically abducted.
As someone, I've been physically abducted as well. I woke up on the table while my abduction had taken place. So that was always kind of fun, having that experience. But I guess the reason why I'm asking this is I knew mine was coming. I didn't know when. When Samantha Mowat and I had seen the creature, or not the creature, but the extraterrestrial in the forest that day in April of 2014, she had asked me if I had been abducted before, and I said, no, not that I think of or recall. She goes, okay, maybe you haven't yet. She goes, but now that you've made contact with this being, there's a likelihood you're going to be contacted. And she walked me through everything, saying that I think I'm going to have to prepare myself, thinking it's going to be painful, I'm going to be screaming, but she always stated to me, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. And that replayed. So when I actually woke up on the table during my abduction, while they were cutting open the back of my head, and I did start screaming, Samantha's voice started playing in my head. Just remember, Dave, it doesn't hurt. And lo and behold, the pain went away. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, in regards to these abductions that are taking place, what about someone like David Paulides, who is investigating all these missing people, and Butch Witkowski from your area in Pennsylvania, who states that, who has researched alien mutilations of human bodies. Are there species taking us for food? We're the main course. Are they taking us away from this planet where we will never see our loved ones again? To be slaves, or to be something that we could not unequivocally even account for in our own imaginations?
Well, every once in a while, people run into natural occurrences that put them into other time dimensions. For instance, in the Bermuda Triangle, Flight 19 from 1947, they flew into a wormhole, and it threw them into the future, and that's why nobody ever heard from them again. So there are instances where natural occurrences take place that cause a lot of these disappearances. I actually have a chapter in my upcoming book on devil's vortexes and ley lines and how all that stuff works. But there are, and Moo has come in and told us of some of the instances where people get into these other dimensions and they just don't come back, and that's some of the natural reasons for disappearances.
Do you think these people are given a choice? Because I can honestly say, with the way the planet is going right now, I would literally, if I had another landing right there, I would take my family and I would get on board and I'd get the hell out of Dodge.
It's probably a good time to do that, yeah.
Exactly. I would totally do that. Totally do that. So that is just amazing, because what you're saying is the soul has, getting in round form, as we only got about 2.5 minutes before the break, Barry. What you're saying then, from what you've been told, the soul has the free will, but what the mind and the body does is completely different when it comes to what they are doing with ET abduction.
That's pretty much it. That sums it up pretty well, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I've never really thought, I'll be honest with you, I've never separated it.
Yeah, you got to separate the soul and the body.
Which seems natural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We all have the free will, and we've got to try to conquer that on many different levels, on a subconscious, on a conscious level. And your soul actually has the ability to depart from your body at times. It gets pretty freaking complicated, and I don't pretend to know all of it. I am probably in the first grade equivalent of learning about all this. We've been blessed that we've been told a lot of things, but there's so much more to learn, and I'm looking forward to putting some intelligent questions down and asking some more questions about it.
As I think you should. Do you feel that you have got what you wanted in regards to these types of answers? Because there's a lot of people affected by this.
Every time I open a door, 17 more doors are in front of me. And when he tries to explain things, I realize how little my mind can really grasp what he's telling me. So we just keep working along and trying to understand what's happening.
I fully get you there, my friend. We are down to the final seconds here before we're going to hop out for a break with Barry Strohm. You can find his books on Amazon, and they are great reads nonetheless. Aliens Among Us, I have a copy right behind me. I'm looking at it right now, Barry. It looks great on my shelf. Thank you. We have The Afterlife and so much more. We'll be back right after this.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, news director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries, so tune in at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Had a run-in with ghosts, maybe Bigfoot, or seen lights in the sky? Hi, I'm Mike Schmidt from the SOR Sightlines. I'm here to investigate your sighting. Head to spacedoutradio.com and fill out a report on the Sightlines. All your information is 100% confidential, and I will help you figure out what you've been seeing. File your report, and let's find out the answers together.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest, from Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Reveal Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium, Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show. Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you along for the ride. If you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Do us a favor, head to freedomslips.com and donate today. The SOR Space Travelers Club has a new password for tonight. Bill Cardwell sets it on a nightly basis. Agglomeration is your password. Agglomeration. I'm so thrilled that Bill has actually given me a password I can pronounce. Remember, if you're a space traveler and you need to use the password and someone says, "What is it for?" just say, "Exactly." SOR Space Traveler, provided by Bill Cardwell on a nightly basis. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can tune us in on TuneIn. Download these shows and the rest of them on iTunes. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you can sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club. It's only $5 a month. We give you a bunch of perks and privileges with that. You can also read up on the SOR Space Wire from our news director, Eric Markham. Read up our latest blogs. Check out our music maestro, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses. He is the official music of this show. And if you've had a weird experience that you just can't explain and you want some answers, fill out a Sightlines report. The SOR Sightlines report is there for you. Our investigator, Mike Schmidt, will get back to you ASAP. And your personal information is 100% confidential, so fill it out today. Barry Strohm is our guest tonight. He uses a channeling board to get through the messages that help him write his very entertaining books. His newest book, Spirit Speak of Conspiracies and Mysteries, comes out in just a couple of months in February. He's also got a couple of books out there right now. His latest, Aliens Among Us, Exploring Past and Present. It's a good one. I got a copy of it myself. Barry and his wife Connie are here. Welcome back.
Well, we're still here.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. The world hasn't ended during that break, which is always a positive thought. Now, Connie, I want you to step close to the microphone here because you had a physical extraterrestrial experience. You've never shared this on this show before. I would love for our audience to hear about it.
Well, I had a 15-year mystery solved for me on the board one evening. Approximately 15 years ago, we lived down in Florida. And about 10 in the morning, I had taken Barry down to the Fort Lauderdale airport, and we lived just north of West Palm. And as I was driving back up Interstate 95 at rush hour, I took note to this one exit, and the next thing I know, it's like someone pushed a button on my head to wake me up, and I immediately became conscious again, and I was 2 exits further north. And I thought, what in the heck? Why didn't I wreck my car? What's going on here? So I went to my cardiologist. He did a 24-hour monitor on me because I do have a heart bang. And he said, I don't see any problem. He said, you must have just fallen asleep. Well, common sense tells you don't fall asleep for 2 exits on Interstate 95 down West Palm Beach and not wreck your car and take a bunch of other people out with you. But I had sort of forgotten about it. And then one evening we were on the board and Moo told us that I had been abducted, so of course I knew exactly when it was. So we said, Moo, how did they keep the car from wrecking? And he said, oh, it's easy when you know how. Okay, how? He said, shapeshifters. So evidently they put a shapeshifter in and drove. So I've never seen anything on my body to tell me they stuck something in my head or anything like that. So we asked him, what did they do to me? And he says, I'm innocent. I wasn't there. And that's all he would say. So I haven't had any ill effects from it, so I guess they were just studying me. If it was only for 2 exits, they probably decided there wasn't too much to study. So anyway, that's my one experience. But he's also told us that I have agreed to it. I guess when I was still on the other side. I don't know. But it's supposed to be a learning experience.
That is incredibly true. I know that my wife has been taken. In fact, she has told me that she has actually been taken while I've been in the basement doing this show.
Oh, my.
That's interesting.
Yes. My little guy has been taken twice. My other daughters have not. And, you know, I remember when I asked you about it the last time when we were doing the live channeling session with Moo, Moo had stated and confirmed without me giving a number that my little guy had been taken twice and that he was no longer needed and wouldn't be taken again. And so far he has not, which is very interesting that it continues on that path. And that is one from a personal experience that I monitor very, very closely because, you know, as a parent, you want to make sure that you are monitoring what is happening with your children at all times. So I'm going to get into Gail's question here, and I'm wondering if you've ever asked Moo this or any other spirit this. Gail is wondering, what would it take to cause E.T. to go home, mind their own business, and allow Earth to evolve on its own?
What would it take? I'm not sure I'm capable of answering that because they have absolutely no intention of going home and letting Earth evolve. If they let Earth evolve, we're going to be out of here in about 3 years. We'll manage to kill everybody. I don't think humans are capable of evolving without extraterrestrial guidance. Moo told us that there are many young planets like ours, and that actually we're not as violent as some of the others. So I would hate to see what the other ones look like. But we're not the only planet that is undergoing their supervision. It's all part of this huge network, and there's so much going on out there. and they want each planet to evolve to where they realize that war doesn't work and that everybody needs to get along and everybody needs to play nice.
You make it sound so simple.
I'm a simple person.
But do you not think, and a lot of people, and there's a lot of theories out there, whether it's David Icke, whether it's Stephen Greer, whether it's Stanton Friedman, there's a lot of people who are trying to figure out what the ET agenda actually is. Are they here to harvest our planet, whether it's for raw materials and gold, or are they here to actually help mankind? Is there a mixture of both? How would you look at that question?
The committee is what protects our Earth from being taken over by aliens. It's, without the guidance and supervision, we would be gone. They would take our planet for the gold and natural resources. But the overall plan is for everybody to get along. The civilized planets do it, and there's really no reason why we can't learn to do it sometime in the future.
Let's get to a few more questions here before we continue on with the conversation in regards to everything. Claudia is asking, she says, I have a theory. One day when enough people are knowingly using our spirit and all of our gifts, that one day we will all be using our spirit every day and the veil will open and we will not need our bodies. And at that time we will have a choice to be in spirit only or in our body only. Either way, what do you think of that theory, and have you ever asked the spirits on your board about that?
You have the choice to be spirit only now. You don't have to come back. The whole reincarnation process is part of the free will thing. If your soul doesn't want to return, it doesn't have to. If it's happy on the other side with the level that they've obtained, they stay there. There are souls that have never come back to Earth. They're some of the guides, and they've advanced on the other side without having to return. So we're there now. You don't have to come back if you don't want to.
Moving on to another question, this one from Gail again. And she is asking, and I just got to find it here because it was silly me. I went and scrolled right by it. How do extraterrestrials walk around among us? Where do they stay at night? How do they buy food? Where do they get their currency?
They don't need any of that. They have the technology that allows light to pass through their mass. So we don't see them. They have the ability to access other dimensions. There's dimensions all around us that we don't see. They have, many of them really don't have much of a food requirement. They don't communicate out loud like we do. So they don't go, hey Joe, and you look over and we see an alien sitting there. They're all around us. They're interdimensional. And if they want us to see them, they'll let us see them. I mean, I've seen one already, and he seemed to be quite proud of it. And they're here, and it's just there's a lot going on that we have no clue of.
There was often a lot of speculation and theory, and I don't know if we can even put any relevance into this. I'd like to, because my imagination kind of runs wild like that sometime. And that theory is that when extraterrestrials would land at Area 51, if they were more humanoid, that a lot of them actually enjoyed hanging out at the Sahara and along the old Las Vegas Strip. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, shapeshifters. He has told us there is absolutely no way you can tell a shapeshifter. And they walk among us. It's part of it. We have shapeshifters in our government. He just won't tell us who they are. We've had them as man's evolved. They've put in the old days, like at the time, thousands of years ago, humans look at the aliens as gods, and we're very friendly towards them. I mean, if you go to the Nazca lines down in Peru, they actually laid those lines out as tributes to the gods that walked among them. As man evolved, we managed to come up with with religious fears and churches telling us that they can't exist, and all of a sudden we have fear of aliens. And this has multiplied, and then movie shows come along and they tell us that the aliens are over there fighting and blowing themselves up, and they want to blow us up, and they've just built this incredible fear that has to be overcome, and they're not going to make their appearance known until man's ready not to fear them when they see them.
Another question from Everett. Barry, do you have an opinion on John Teeter?
I'm not familiar with that.
The so-called time traveler that came back to went back to the 70s to get a IBM computer part to take to the future of 2036.
Yeah, I'm not. That's one I'm not familiar with. I am familiar with Bruce Gernon that did time travel down in 1970s in his airplane. He had a real time travel experience.
So what is your thoughts, or have you ever talked to any of the extraterrestrials regarding time travel?
Yeah. Anytime that you exceed the speed of sound, you go back in time. And wormholes accelerate you through time. So, yeah, it's very possible. You can go forward and you can go backwards. Time travel is a real deal.
Mm-hmm. Has Moo ever explained or ever talked about whether or not we have time traveled as a human species?
Yes, definitely. We've had people that have time traveled. Your soul, once you're on the other side, is capable of traveling through time. Your soul can travel to other planets if it wants to. Once you've passed, your soul energy can do amazing things.
But what about in the physical form right now? Have we time traveled? Have we been to other planets, like the secret space program and the people who believe that it exists have stated?
No, I don't think so. I think that humans have time traveled with aliens, but I don't think they've ever brought them back to explain it. I know that Werner von Braun was actually taken for a ride on rocket ships over in Germany when they were going through all their technological advances. Humans have been on alien ships and returned, but I'm not sure of anybody that has time traveled and come back. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just not familiar with it.
Now I'm curious. How did you know about Werner von Braun going on a ship?
Moo told me. I have a chapter in the book, the new book coming out on German rocket technology. And this, believe it or not, this was the one chapter that Moo suggested that I add to the book. He wanted me to write about how the Germans advanced so rapidly with the help of aliens.
So the Nazis were in cahoots with extraterrestrials.
Oh, absolutely. In 1938, an alien ship crashed in Bavaria, and there were 27 aliens on the ship, and they would not give them up. The Nazis would not give them up, and the aliens actually taught them old technology, and the Nazis were very close. They actually had designed a flying saucer, but the metals were too heavy to make it work. And after the war, we brought all of their scientists back over here, and that was really the basis for our own space program, was the technology that was learned by the Nazis with the help of the aliens.
So you don't think then that we have visited other planets besides the moon? Did we go to the moon?
Yes. Yeah, we did go to the moon.
Why did we stop going then? Did Moo ever say why? Because this is a very big controversy here.
When we got to the moon, our astronauts got to see some real alien ships, and they almost crapped their pants when they saw the size of them. When I think it was Lowell that went to the backside of the moon, when he came back out, he said, "You can rest assured that Santa Claus really exists." And Santa Claus was the code name for aliens. And there's actually an entrance on the backside of the moon because the moon's is hollow, from what he says. So they were kind of warned off because they're disturbing a lot of stuff that goes on up there.
Is that why we're not allowed back?
I suspect we're allowed back now because I think they've relocated a lot of their operations that were up on the moon.
Did you ever ask him about China? When they sent their explorer, their rover, up to the moon last year, they were getting a lot of pictures, they were getting a lot of beautiful sights of what was on there, and then all of a sudden it just seemed to die off and nobody talks about it anymore. Do you think that there was any sort of word to tell the Chinese, who sometimes have to seem like they have to learn the hard way, to say, yeah, you're not allowed to do that?
I suspect that's exactly what happened. I'm sure the Chinese are working with aliens. I mean, China is one of the advanced cultures on Earth today, and our advanced countries all have contact. They may not be as popular. I mean, just like since Obama's been in, we haven't been in contact with them, but other countries have, and I'm sure China may be one of them. Because if you notice, China has advanced very rapidly with their technology of late.
That could be due to cheap labor, though.
Yeah, it could be, but I suspect that they're getting a little bit of help.
Where do we go, or have you asked what's the next step for space advancement? I mean, because NASA doesn't have any type of ability to get into space again. They have to rely on the Russian shuttles in order to get to the ISS. And China seems to be exploiting their rockets to worry about what they want to worry about. So where does space travel lie in the future?
Well, space travel has got to become a reality because at some time far in the future, our planet is going to cease to exist. And if we don't have the ability to travel the stars when that time comes of the natural death of Earth, humans will go with it. So, but keep in mind, what's 100 years? When the time comes, they will lead us to doing what we need to do. I'm sure that they're more interested in us sorting out some of these political problems right now than they are in showing us how to advance to more interplanetary travel. If they want us to learn interplanetary travel, it can take place very rapidly. They can open their doors to their technology, and it can become a reality in a very short period of time.
So, once again, why aren't they?
Because we have to learn to get along. I don't think they're going to show us the way until we prove that we can cooperate among each other and that we don't use it as a method to destroy the Earth.
So basically what you're saying is we have to wait until there is a break in the military-industrial complex. Basically.
We have to wait until we're ready to advance. I think they will, when the time comes, they will lead us. As I said earlier, they told us not to set off the hydrogen bomb, and we did. So I think they're very fearful of giving us that type of technology until we can control ourselves.
Eric is asking in the Space Out Radio chat room, Barry, do you believe that we have a breakaway culture that is already in space?
No, we don't have that yet. I've asked that question.
That was a quick answer. I was expecting you to go long on that. I was like, I'm going to catch up on the chat room chatter, see what's going on, and yeah, Barry missed me on that one. Let's get to a question from Claudia here. Claudia is saying, do you think the word time, besides just using it for measurement, has a block on the consciousness, not allowing people to explore the universe with their imagination, dreams, or thoughts? Seems if you remove time, you're already there.
Well, once the soul is on the other side of the veil, there is no time. And then one day I was channeling with him, and he says, time is not linear. And now I have no freaking idea what he's talking about. But time is apparently different in other dimensions. Time, he said when he lived on his planet, he was a slave of time as well, same as we are, because he knew his time was going to run out, as all our lives run out through time. Time is very, very complex. I mean, I've had them try to explain it, and they've talked about it being like a spiral, and I truly wish I could give you the answer on this one, but I've tried multiple times. The answers are always very complex, and sometimes they try to present it in different ways, and all it does is get me mixed up. But I'm going to try to work on this in the future, and actually I'm going to try to put a chapter on time in the next book, if I can ever understand it.
Robert Rose has a question here. He is asking, Barry, what is your take on conflicting reports among abductees when it comes to some reporting that the Greys/reptilians are either all good or all evil? What is the general consensus?
I think it depends on the time that the abduction took place. In the past, I do think that the Greys did some things in their abductions they weren't supposed to do. My understanding is that the Greys are under more control now by the committee, and that they're more inclined to follow the rules. We were told that if it was not for the committees, the Greys would take over the earth. So they're a very powerful culture, and I'm not really sure how well controlled they all are. I'm just like with humans, I'm sure there's good ones and bad ones.
Who is the committee? You've mentioned the committee a few times now.
The committee is the governing body of the galaxy. It consists of any culture that is advanced enough to skip travel in wormholes is entitled to have 3 representatives on the committee. It is the governing agent that sets the rules and assures that everybody gets along. And it's the governing body that helps protect all the underdeveloped planets from being taken over by more advanced cultures.
So basically what you're saying is they're protecting a young society from the bullies of the universe.
That's totally correct, yes.
Moving on here, let's get to Bill Cardwell's question. Are aliens afraid to show themselves for fear that we will stop killing each other and instead turn on to killing them?
No, that us killing them is not their worry. They're so advanced. If you can travel twice the speed of light, I don't think we got anything that's going to catch up to them. They just simply want to observe us without us knowing that they're there. They don't want fear. They want to be able to try to guide us. They want to try to help us. And that's it. They do not worry, believe me, they do not worry about us killing them.
It's funny that you've mentioned a couple of times on this show that they don't want us to know they're there, yet we have hundreds of thousands of experiencers who are saying, yes, they are. We even have a man who worked next to the president saying, they're here. Paul Hellyer saying, they're here. It's a pretty bad secret.
Well, every once in a while they screw up and get caught, and we see them, or they try to select people for abductions or learning sessions whose memories can be wiped clean. Every once in a while they run into people that remember and that see them. And they are starting to want to introduce themselves to us. They want us to start to understand that they're there, but they do not want total disclosures yet. Disclosure will come. No, I had the pleasure of talking to Paul Hilliard up at the Alien Conference in Toronto a couple months ago. All countries have had contact. It's just that they wish to remain indiscreet and helpful on the outside. There's going to be a time that they walk among us. They walk among us now. We just don't see them. But there's going to be a time they let us watch. Apparently, there's many more shapeshifters than you would ever believe. Many people have alien DNA in their blood. You would be utterly shocked at how many people have that. I know that Connie and I have it. And when we were up at the conference in Canada, we met with a lot of other people that are aware of it, and there's a lot of characteristics. And those of us that seem to have it are the ones that are able to communicate in different ways with them. As I say, I don't communicate with live ones. I communicate with the spirits of them. But there are disclosures coming, and this is just one way that we're sneaking up on it.
Daryl has a question for you, and she is asking, have you ever talked to them about God? Is there a God? Do they believe in any type of religion or spirituality?
Absolutely. On Mu's planet, God sent his son to them 4,000 years ago, and they call him the Wise One. On Mu's planet, they have a celebration very similar to our Christmas, where they celebrate his birth. We have one God of the universe, and all of the different alien cultures worship the same God. God has actually sent his son in one form or another to all of the civilized planets. I actually, in my new book, have a chapter on the universality of God, where I discuss all the different aspects of how they worship in the different planets.
Very interesting indeed. So they are as spiritual as we would like to believe here on Earth as we try to believe in God, even though we are becoming quite atheist and agnostic on this planet.
Yeah, and amazing. One night we were talking to Mu one night, and he said even on his planet there, in spite of the evidence of God all around on his planet, as advanced as they are, they still have non-believers on his planet. So apparently the believe, not believe thing is intergalactic, at least. And I don't think you really believe until you make that little journey to the other side and see what's going on over there.
Let's continue on with the questions before we fire this up, because there's a ton of questions coming through here.
Okay.
Has Mu ever talked about any battles between dimensionals or aliens in major cities? Example, New York.
No. No. And if something like that took place, it would surprise me. I'm not saying it hasn't, but no, he has never mentioned anything like that.
All right. Joe is asking, what if the whole ETs being peaceful idea is just a trick?
I'd say we're screwed, to be blunt about it. I keep going back. If you accept the fact that extraterrestrials have been with us for thousands of years, why would, if they wanted to harm us, we'd be harmed by now. If they wanted our planet for the natural resources, they would have come after it before we took them out. I mean, here, I'll read a direct quote out of one of our channeling sessions from Mu. He says, "We're here to help you. We do not want your planet. We have our own thank you, and we do not want to harm you. This is all nonsense that we want what you have. We are here to make sure you can make the leap when you are ready." And that's, that pretty well sums up what I think his mission is, when he was alive, that is.
Let's move on here. Bill is asking, what percentage of alien craft end up crashing here? Why do they manage to travel so far, dodging asteroids and comets, only to crash into Earth? It's not student drivers, is it?
They have mechanical problems just the same as we do. Rendlesham Forest, for example, they had a mechanical failure, and they had to send a rescue team down to fix the ship, and that's what the beams that they saw were actually the mechanics working on the ship over there at Rendlesham. And the beam that was emitted, I asked, in my alien book that's out now, I have a chapter on it. And I asked Moo what the beam of light they saw was, and his words were, well, it was actually a kind of jump start. We had to restart their engines, and that beam of light was what we used to restart them so that they could fly off again. Apparently, when they get closer into an Earth's gravitational, they have mechanical problems just like we do.
Or they're Asian built.
Yeah, really.
Not that North American strength that we have in automobiles.
Yeah. No, I'm sure the Mexicans are working on their ships as we speak.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on here. Gail is asking, where are the Greys from and what planet was Moo from?
Moo is from a planet named Robe, R-O-B-B-E. It is on the far side of the Milky Way, away from us. It is a planet the size of Jupiter, and his total population on his planet is about 30 million beings, and basically they spend most of their time underground. He has, as I remember, his planet has 2 suns and 8 moons, and it takes, I think, one of his years. Well, his average lifespan on his planet is around 950 of our years.
Will he ever incarnate back there?
He claims I've reincarnated back there one time, and he's reincarnated on Earth. He hasn't really said what his long-term plans are. Apparently, his soul is part of our soul family. And once you get over there, you got a lot of choices.
Let's move on from the alien talk, because this isn't the real reason why we brought you on tonight. We've kind of let it get a little bit out of hand. But sometimes we just let the audience dictate the way things are going to go around here, and that's the way we have done it tonight. In your book coming out, which is Spirit Speak of Conspiracies and Mysteries, that's coming out on February 28th, I believe, if my research is correct.
Yeah, hopefully a little before that. It went to the printer today, so hopefully we'll see it a little earlier.
Well, I hope so. There are some great stories that you have in this book, including the murder of Abraham Lincoln and the events around John Wilkes Booth. What can you fill us in on that? Well,
in the United States, the assassination of Lincoln is actually, something they still teach in the history books. But as I found out, what they teach is not exactly 100% of what took place. Everybody knows that John Wilkes Booth killed Abraham Lincoln. Did it in Ford's Theater, shot him in the back of the head with a .45 caliber Derringer. Booth then escapes. Some of the co-conspirators also escape. It was supposed to be a 3-pronged attack. Booth was the only one that was successful in what he did. He goes into Virginia, and he is supposedly captured after about 2 weeks and killed and shot in the back of the head. The conspirators are captured. 4 of them are hung almost immediately. And within a couple years, the rest of the conspirators are given get out of jail free cards, and it's over. Well, apparently, once we started channeling this thing and asking questions about it, John Wilkes Booth really did not die in Virginia. And when we asked who was responsible for the assassination, we were told that the Secretary of War, Stanton, actually hired John Wilkes Booth, and that the Vice President at the time, Andrew Johnson, was also part of the conspiracy, and that this whole thing was laid out ahead of time. Well, we're told that John Wilkes Booth actually escapes, and the Union's soldiers had captured a Confederate captain that was almost a spitting image of Booth. And they took this poor guy back down to Virginia, shot him, and, tell everyone that they got the bad guy. But Booth actually escapes and goes to Kentucky. 3 years later, Booth marries a woman in Kentucky and actually signs the marriage license, J.W. Booth. But he assumes the name of John St. Helens. The son of the woman that he marries realizes who he really is, and Booth abandons his new wife and heads out to Texas, where he buys a bar and operates his bar for several years. A woman in town is about to get married to a U.S. Marshal. Booth realizes that this Marshal is probably going to recognize him when he comes to town, and the night before this Marshal is due, he heads further west on the Texas frontier. And here comes a train by my window that is making a lot of noise.
Well, make sure you wave, because you don't want to be...
And he will make sure he blows his horn specifically so he can drown this out.
Well, that's okay. That happens.
Yeah.
Trains happen. Train lives matter.
There it goes.
Perfect.
Yes. So anyway, Booth is now in Texas, and he gets sick, and he thinks he's going to die. So he actually does a deathbed confession where he tells the local people that, he's John Wilkes Booth. Somehow or other, an attorney in Kentucky learns of this confession. Well, Booth doesn't die, so now he's confessed to something. He's got a real problem. So he heads up to Oklahoma and moves into the town of Enid, Oklahoma. In 1903, John Wilkes Booth actually commits suicide, and now he really is dead. Somehow or other, this attorney hears of Booth's death, comes to town and buys Booth's body and has it mummified. They take the body of John Wilkes Booth, and he was actually on display at the 1904 World's Fair. After the fair, the attorney that owns the body dies, and his wife sells it to a carnival. And for years, this body is on display at different carnivals around the country. In the 1930s, they actually took the mummified body and did a comparison on it, and it had the broken leg and many of the injuries that Booth had. And the last time that they recorded his mummified body was in the 1970s at a carnival in Pennsylvania, of all places. In my book, I have a picture that was taken in 1903 of Booth's body in the casket. So the whole thing that they teach in the history books is not accurate. And it's a great double conspiracy. First, the great part is, who was behind it, which was the Secretary of War and the Vice President. And the second is that John Wilkes Booth actually didn't die.
Wow. What about Dr. Mudd?
Dr. Mudd, he knew that it was John Wilkes Booth. He did set his leg and actually made a set of crutches for him. But he did it as a doctor, and he was not part of the conspiracy.
Have you ever channeled Lincoln on this?
No, we've not been able to get through to Lincoln. This whole story was told to us by the guides. But they would give me the name. Like I would ask what name was it. It said John St. Helens. And then I'd go online and I would do the research. And everything they told me, I could actually go online and find out the history trail. And the culmination of it was actually finding a picture of Booth's body that was taken in 1903. And that's in the U.S. Archives.
So what happened to a lot of the historic fact that goes along with this? Because history through high school or through the historic books that are out there, whether they're in universities or even at the local library, says such a different story. Now, where or who came up with the current story that is out there?
There are people that do research in this stuff. There was a researcher at the University of Kentucky that came up with this J.W. Booth marriage license that was signed 3 years after he was supposedly killed. There's some very reputable research out there that proves all this. I just, my source was the spirits, and I could go in and find where all this stuff is established. History books aren't going to do anything about it. They could care less. They like the idea that it was all tied up in a nice, neat little package.
Tripp is asking, so he wasn't burnt in a barn. Did he make it to Arkansas?
I don't know about Arkansas. I know he went from Kentucky to Texas, further out to Texas, and he winds up in Oklahoma. He could have hit Arkansas on the way up to Oklahoma.
Just traveling through, why not? Let's go to another president then.
Okay.
In JFK. There is all sorts of conspiracy behind that. Who shot him? Was it Lee Harvey Oswald? Was it Lyndon Johnson behind it? Was it the mob? Who is the babushka lady? That is the one thing that I want. And now we have this whole Mandela effect coming through on this, where people are saying that, at one time in the original film, there's only 4 people in JFK's limousine, and the current has 6 people in it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, that we asked for the president to come through, and he came right in for us, and I asked him how he would like me to refer to him. I said, would you like me to call you Mr. President? And he said, no, just call me Jack. And we had a great conversation. The guy was incredibly down to earth. He was friendly, didn't hold anything back, and gave me the name of the people that shot him. And after he gave me the names of the shooters, I could go online and verify them. They're in conspiracy theories, and I believe that his rendition of what he told us is the proper one.
Well, let's take it back a step further here. What is JFK like in chatting with him on a spirit board?
He was very. It was like speaking to any other spirit. He was very down to earth. There was. For instance, when we talked to George Custer, his arrogance came through in his answers. This guy was down to earth. It was just like somebody to sit down and have a beer with.
He's very humble.
Yeah, totally humble and straightforward. He told us things he didn't have to tell us.
Was he quite forthright about his life and what happened, or was he just there to talk about his assassination?
Oh, no. We asked him about Marilyn Monroe, whether he slept with her. He admitted. He said, yes, he did. Told us that his father is not there with him, that he's on a lower level. We talked about Bobby Kennedy. We talked about everything. We talked about his son, Jack Jr., being in his airplane accident. We covered all kinds of subjects. It wasn't just the assassination.
Let's talk about Junior for a second, because a lot of people have tried to figure out whether or not that there's a conspiracy behind that. If it was just a faulty plane when he crashed, or if it was tampered with, shot down. There's now people in the conspiracy world who are trying to put it against Hillary Clinton because he was supposed to run against Hillary in the run-up to the New York elections for senator.
He was. It was not an accident. He was the reason he was brought down. He was planning on opening his father's investigation, and there were powers to be that did not want it reopened.
That's conspiratorial. That's putting it right out there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's what happened. It wasn't an accident.
So, who took him out?
I never really asked who was responsible, but I suspect it was the same people the same group that was behind his father's assassination.
CIA?
Had a role in it, yes. Kennedy made a lot of enemies. That was the time of the Bay of Pigs invasion. Bobby Kennedy was going after organized crime, and they were putting the mobsters in jail for the first time. But most importantly, Jack was going to get us out of the Vietnam War. He realized that it was going to be a quagmire, and he was planning to end it. And he had told Lyndon Johnson that he was not going to be on the ticket second term. And Johnson really wanted to be president. And that was really the trigger that broke the camel's back.
So Johnson is the one, in your opinion, who set this all up?
Yeah, he was behind the conspiracy. Johnson had the connections to do it. He had a lot of mob backgrounds through his Texas days when he rigged some of his elections, and he had all the connections he needed to get it done. And Johnson is really the one that gave the order for it.
Are you going to sneak us in here and give us a little hint of who might have shot JFK? But before I ask you that, how many shooters were there?
There were 5. There were backups that never had to get involved with it because the kill shot actually came from the roof over top of the 6th floor. Oswald was set up, and the main shooter was on the 6th floor so that they would simulate the angle of the kill shot. And there was a shot from there, and there was a shooter on the grassy knoll.
What about inside the limousine? Because there is some talk that the driver was in on it and performed the kill shot with a handgun.
No, the kill shot, he was hit twice. He was hit from the front and back. He was hit twice. There were 5 shots fired in total.
Has he ever talked about the infamous Zapruder film?
No, we didn't address that.
When you're talking to JFK, did he give you the names of the 2 shooters? And do they line up in history as being a part of any type of maybe black op or mysterious operation?
He told us that the kill shot was fired by a gentleman by the name of Frank Sturgis. And Sturgis's name appears in a bunch of the conspiracy theories. The other one was E. Howard Hunt, and Hunt actually did a deathbed confession where he admitted that he was involved with the assassination. So those 2 names were given to us, and when I went in and did the research, it seems to hold out that it's accurate.
Why is the U.S. government still wanting to keep this so hush-hush nearly 60 years after it's taken place, or 55 years after it's taken place?
Well, all of the photographs of the autopsies and everything were faked, and the real pictures never came out. And it's a nasty little secret. They believe me, no one ever wants this information to be proven. I don't think they mind that there's conspiracy theories about it. They are never going to go away. But there's just an awful lot took place that you're never going to learn about.
Oh, my goodness. It's just so heavy to take this long afterwards. Will it ever come out?
I don't think so. I really don't. No. There's stuff that will never come out in this.
Was Ted Kennedy told to just shut up because he had a long political career and nothing ever happened to him?
Basically. Yeah, we went into the Chappaquiddick thing. We even talked to Jack about that. And he said he does not, he said Ted was set up, but that he does not forgive him because he could have definitely saved the life of the girl. So he's very upset with Ted about that whole thing.
We're going to have to continue the rest of this because there is questions coming up, and we got to get going to a break here momentarily. I think everybody needs to go out and buy this book. And on February 28th, 2017, Spirit Speaks of Conspiracies and Mysteries by Mr. Barry Strohm and his channeling board will come out on Amazon. It is definitely one that you are going to want to get into, and we're going to get into more conspiracies, more of what is out there as soon as we go to break. Man, it's good to have you back on the air with us, Barry. It's straight up.
Quick word, you can pre-order it.
Well, there you go. We'll be right back.
The SOR Sightlines is a place for you to find answers to your strange experiences. Hi there, this is Mike Schmidt. If you have had an encounter with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, ETs, or anything else that doesn't make sense, head to spacedoutradio.com and file a Sightlines report. All information you give is 100% confidential, and I will personally help you find the answers you need. SOR Sightlines, your answers are a click away.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where two members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with the U4COP. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you checked out the SOR Spacewire at spacedoutradio.com yet? Every day we post the latest stories regarding the weird, strange, and completely unbelievable. From cryptid and UFO sightings to the conspiracy world, we tackle it all. Hi there, I'm Eric Markham, Spaced Out Radio's news director for the SOR Spacewire. And if you have a story, I want to hear it. Email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Final hour tonight as we continue on with the conspiracy talk with Barry Strohm. Before we bring Barry back on, I do want to remind you, if you're listening in on the Double R machine, Revolution Radio is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Do us a favor, go to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight. If you're an SOR space traveler, what's it for? Exactly. But you have to be an SOR space traveler to find out. The password is agglomeration. Agglomeration is your password for tonight, so make sure you use it wisely, space travelers. It's always good to keep it in your back pocket as well. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can tune us in on TuneIn. You can download this show and others on iTunes, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you can sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is only $5 a month. With that, you get a bunch of perks and privileges. We just don't give you access to our archives. You get those for free. You can also read up on the latest blogs. Check out the SOR Space Wire by our news director, Eric Markham. Listen to some music from our resident guitar god, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, the official music of Spaced Out Radio. And if you've had a sighting, fill out the SOR Sightlines report. Doesn't matter if it's Bigfoot, UFOs, aliens, Dogman, whatever it may be. We want to hear about it. We'll investigate it for you. Mike Schmidt is chomping at the bit to get it going. So fill out a report today at our website. Tonight we bring back Barry Strohm once again. We are talking conspiracies. His latest book, which comes out in February, is Spirits Speak of Conspiracies and Mysteries. You can pre-order the copies right now. The hardcover is out February 28th. Welcome back.
I am here. I'm still awake.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Seem to be awake every night at this time, but that's okay. Right before the break, you gave some shocking testimony on what the Spirit Board had told you about JFK and your communication with him in regards to the fateful day in November of 1963. A few more questions from our audience, if you don't mind. Gail has the same question I was asking. Who the hell was the babushka lady?
I don't know. I forgot to ask that question.
No. That's the one thing I want to know.
Oh, sorry.
Damn it, we're going to have to bring that up. Next time I have you on the air, we're going to have to get that one going. I need to know that one.
All right.
What is this little old Ukrainian lady walking around there like nothing is happening? It just is so weird. Another question.
There was an awful lot going on while the assassination was taking place.
How many people were actually involved with this?
On the ground, 5.
But to pull something off like this, there has to be a whole network of people. A whole bunch of people have to be involved, and to be able to keep that secret. How has it been able to keep silent?
Well, dead men tell no tales. There were a lot of people shot and killed after it was over with. Officer Tippett, for instance. You remember nobody ever really knew what was happening with him? Well, Tippett's role was to pick up Oswald after the shooting and get him out of there. And then Tippett was supposed to kill Oswald. Well, Tippett got cold feet and didn't go through with it. And that's how Oswald winds up getting caught in the movie theater. So Tippett then is knocked off by the conspirators because he's obviously backed out on them. And there were several others, even Dorothy Kilgallen. I mean, I don't know if that name rings a bell. Us old folks remember her being on television. But she got an interview with Jack Ruby, and Ruby told her what had happened, and actually Kilgallen got killed before she could write the story. So there were an awful lot of events took place after the main event.
What was Lee Harvey Oswald's role in all of this? And I'm very curious because next month, on November 11th, his former lover, Judith Very Baker, will be on this show to talk about Lee Harvey Oswald. She believes he was perfectly innocent.
Kennedy said that he was not on the 6th floor at the time. We had one guy tell us that he had actually fired and missed. But Kennedy said he was not involved.
So he was just happened to be in the wrong place in the wrong time.
Well, he was framed. They planned all the time to frame him.
How did they know he would be there?
Can't answer that one for sure. Don't know. They probably had set him up on some mission, or I know he was a sympathizer, and I'm sure they just played him and got him to be in that spot.
What was Jack Ruby's role in all of this?
Well, when they couldn't kill Oswald immediately afterwards, Ruby, they threatened his family. He had associations with the mob in Chicago, and they threatened that they would kill Ruby's family if he didn't kill Oswald. So he goes in and pops Oswald, and then apparently Ruby is given cancer while he is in prison.
So basically they used him in order to make it public right in front of the cameras, because it just so coincidental it happened right in front of the media where everyone could see it.
It was all set up. It was incredibly well orchestrated.
Wow. Did JFK ever talk about extraterrestrials?
I cannot answer that. That wasn't something I addressed with him.
So it's mainly on what had happened here.
Yeah. We discussed some of these life events, and I asked him enough questions to make sure that we truly had his spirit, and that was why we went into some of the other subjects. But no, we didn't. We tried to stay fairly close to what happened to him.
Trip is asking in the Space Out Radio chat room, did Jack Ruby own the theater?
I don't know. I've never heard that question before. Can't answer it.
Okay. Moving on. What about Robert Kennedy's role in all of this? Because he was, I believe, district attorney at the time.
Bobby Kennedy was attorney general at the time.
Attorney general, pardon me.
Yeah, and he was cracking down on organized crime, and that was part of what they needed to stop Bobby Kennedy as well. And then when he was going to run for president, they did not want another Kennedy in the White House to have to go through it again. So they took care of Bobby before he got to the White House.
Did Johnson set that one up too?
Probably. I never really asked who was behind Bobby Kennedy's death.
Did you ever try to channel Lyndon Johnson in order to get his side of the story?
No. Amazingly, Kennedy has said that he has talked to Johnson on the other side, and that they do get along. So how all that's worked out, I have no idea.
He said he came to apologize.
Well, another little thing Kennedy told me about Johnson, he said that Lyndon Johnson actually committed suicide, that he shot himself in the head, and that they passed it on. They told everyone that he had had a heart attack, but that actually Johnson wound up committing suicide.
Eric is wondering where J. Edgar Hoover fit into all of this.
J. Edgar Hoover. He definitely played a role in this. J. Edgar Hoover would occasionally come out of the closet, and the people with some of the organized crime people got some video of Mr. Hoover while he was out of the closet. So they basically could have him do whatever he wanted to, and the FBI was kind of stood back as all this took place because of what they held over Hoover's head.
What about Caroline Kennedy, the last from the royal family? What about her? She has been awfully quiet in a political sense, which is rare for a Kennedy. Why do you think she has kept so quiet? Is it just for safety? Has she been shut up, or?
I think she fears for her safety. Don't forget they took care of her brother, and I think she is just going to live out her life playing the game.
Well, she doesn't have to worry about money. That's one thing.
No, and she's also one of the New World Order folks, so she, in that respect, I think she's protected.
Were Dick Cheney and Senior Bush involved in this?
One of them was. I don't think Cheney was.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's safe to go there, being up here in Canada. I really don't.
No.
No. We'll there is certain, and I do want to go to tell our audience, there is certain information that you have been told through the board that for your own safety you just will not come out with tonight.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. I think we can agree on that. Let's move on. Because
yeah, I still have 6 books to write.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no pushing this further. The manipulation of weather.
Oh, yeah.
With HAARP.
Oh, yeah.
What should we know about this, and what should we be doing about this? How much should we be concerned?
We should be damn concerned about this. We have been manipulating the weather since World War II. It's obviously started out with seeding the clouds. During World War II, we actually experimented with creating tsunamis. One of the plans to end the war in Japan was to create a huge tsunami offshore that would be, that would kill hundreds of thousands of people. And we actually investigated this as a weapon. In 1993, we created a facility called HAARP. It's in Gacona, Alaska. And our country wound up spending over $250 million on this. And what it was, it's a system of antennas that focus electromagnetic beams on the ionosphere. And these electronic beams actually are capable of heating the ionosphere hundreds of degrees. And when this happens, it creates wind currents. These wind currents affect the flow of the jet stream. And the jet stream can be directed to create drought, monsoons. During the Vietnam War, we actually created monsoons for the country of Vietnam, and we used weather as a weapon during the Vietnam War. We have currently closed down the HAARP facility in Alaska because they achieved everything they want, but apparently the government has taken the one down in Alaska and built new ones in Nevada, Arkansas, and West Virginia. So we are very, very committed to being able to control the weather. And other countries have also done experimentation of it. And we are not far from having weather being a weapon. If Iran, China, or some of these other countries continue with their research, they would be capable of, for instance, creating huge hurricanes or typhoons and directing them towards our country. Weather direction is actually capable of being a highly effective weapon.
And is this a practice that they have succeeded in turning into a successful weapon?
Oh, absolutely. You can go in and check. I have, in my book, I have copies of the actual patents that they used for the HAARP facility. And they've actually testified in front of our government that they don't need HAARP anymore because they've mastered the technology and they have other ways of doing it. So there's a lot of information has come out. You can go in and do a lot of research yourself. But weather manipulation in HAARP is as real as anything you'll ever hear. It's definitely not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy.
Do they use it for the whole global warming issue? This is a topic that is very hot to trot right now, whether or not, no pun intended when I say that, there is an issue with global warming or not. Have you got into that?
Yes, they actually do use weather manipulation as an argument for global warming. They can, by creating that huge temperature change in the upper atmosphere, they can, in effect, warm our climate, artificially create global warming. And that's part of it, because there's so much money to be made through alternative energy and everything else that they talk about. But yes, it is a part of the reason of HAARP is for the weather manipulation concerning global warming.
Is it the oil industry that is causing the global warming, or what would be the biggest concern?
I think the global warming thing comes mostly from alternative energy folks and from the one world order people have utilized the global warming argument to further themselves by creating all of this alternative energy. If the climate doesn't heat up, they've wasted an awful lot of money. So I think they're going to pretty much assure that we do see increased temperatures.
Speaking about the New World Order or the One World Order, you believe that this is a real big issue right now?
I think it is probably one of the largest issues that we face as a general population. I think it's a problem that transcends all of our borders. I think Canada, United States, Mexico, I think Europe, everyone is involved in this, and it just has incredibly foreseeable penalties for all of us.
For people who may not understand, can you get into what the One World Order or the New World Order is?
There are some very, very wealthy people in this world, the Rockefellers and many others, George Soros, and these people have got a plan basically to take over the world and to create open borders and whatever else they can create. When they need to have a couple wars in order to bring people into line. The idea is that we all become totally dependent on our governments for goods and services. And if they control the governments, they control the goods and services, and everything will filter down, and we will basically become like George Orwell's people that he foresaw. It's very dangerous, and I really think it's real, and I think we're seeing it in our United States elections right now. That is the reason that we can't get a straight scoop from any of our newspapers or TV channels.
And what would be the purpose of all of this?
Power, control. They're trying to control the countries of the world.
I understand that, and you can only control it for so long, though, by keeping the people in the dark before they rebel. History has proven that.
Yeah, but they can make an awful lot of money until that revolution comes. And with the weapons and technology today, I think they can control it for an awful long period of time.
But they can't take the money with them. Unless there is a secret behind it, because David Rockefeller has now had 7 heart transplants. He's 100 years old, and he doesn't, as much as he looks like he is ready to die at any moment, he just keeps on ticking.
That's what money can do for you. They're trying for the everlasting life by their great wealth allows them the greatest of medical technologies, and it's they're obviously afraid to see what it's like on the other side.
That's a very ominous comment that you just made, that they're afraid to see what's on the other side. What would be that fear?
Most of the New World Order people are very much against any type of religion or belief in a God or belief in a heaven, for that matter. So I think they're going through all this because when they feel that death is the end for them. What they're going to find out is that there's a lower level for them, and they ain't going to enjoy it. There's a lot of reality that they will face.
So basically what you're saying is the New World Order has sold their souls to the devil.
Exactly. That's exactly what they've done. And they will find out. Just like when we talked to Jack Kennedy, he said that his father was on a lower level, that he hasn't seen him over there. Because Jack Kennedy's father was a very evil guy. And they do have a place, and you will pay. And there is a time of judgment, and these people will pay at some point. They just got to get over on the other side to do it.
So what about the whole situation of how we get out of this? Does the public finally have the courage or the tenacity to stand up and show that they are no longer to put up with this? Is that what revolution is for, when people finally get sick of everything?
I think that's part of it, but there could be some type of a divine intervention, or the aliens can do something to take care of it. It'll all depend how close we really come to wiping ourselves out before the intervention takes place. They're going to let this thing stew for a bit. I do believe they're going to reach a point that the people are just going to get totally fed up with it and realize that there is strength in numbers. But I really don't think we're that close to it.
Understandable indeed. When you look at what has happened throughout the New World Order, who's involved with it? Is it more than just the skull and bones of Bush and Cheney and the Bilderbergs? Because we see a lot of different millionaires becoming billionaires, from Jay-Z to Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook. Do they automatically get included?
Yeah, people of power, they're totally expanding it. And that's one of the great dangers of it, that as people accumulate wealth, their membership grows. And the more that membership grows, the harder it's going to be to do something about it.
So what do the spirits say on the other side in regards to combating this?
They say God always wins, and to have faith. But they don't think, they're not thinking in terms of weeks or years. But in the long run, they say everything will work out. What they don't tell us is how many generations it's going to take.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
It's hard to listen to. And I hope you can appreciate when I say that. I mean that with all due respect.
Well, it's hard to say it.
I totally understand.
It's hard to say it. But people only need to look around and see what's taking place and try and open their minds to what's taking place. When people open their minds to what's taking place, you may have a chance to do something about it. But as long as everybody just follows along in lockstep, we're screwed.
Oh, man. That's not a pleasant thought.
No. But think of it like this. That's why God made vodka. You can have a drink and try to forget it.
Are the only ones on this planet that are fighting this whole source right now the Russians? Because right now the Russians seem to be looking like the good guys.
Believe it or not, we were told several years ago that the Russians would be the good guys for a while. I didn't believe it at the time, but they seem to be the ones that are standing up to it.
Interesting. Why don't they try and take Putin out?
My guess is they've tried. I think Putin so far has been able to outsmart them. And I honestly think he realizes that he's in deep shit too, you know.
Yet he's willing to combat it as far as he can go.
That's what it appears.
Did the Chinese get involved?
I'm not sure about the Chinese. They try to play both sides against the middle. They're absolutely refusing to control North Korea, and that could go out of control anytime. So the Chinese are playing a dangerous game, and I'm not really sure what their role is at this point.
I guess the hard part that I have to try and figure this out, and I've mentioned this a couple times recently in the last few weeks on the show. Here we have this pissing match going on between the U.S. and Russia, all because Russia seems to be sick and tired of the U.S.'s games happening in the Middle East, and they are games with playing with a real game of risk with people's lives, and unfortunately, it's innocent people who end up with the short end of the stick on this. Now, I guess where I'm trying to go with this is, at what point does the Russians finally stop and say, enough is enough, we've called your bluff, you need to stop what you're doing because you're doing everything that you said only other countries do?
Well, there's no chance they're going to stop before our current president gets out of office. I think the whole thing depends on who wins the election down here. If Hillary gets in, I don't think she'll stop him. You saw what happened with her reset button.
And how well she protected the guys in Benghazi.
That was very nice of her. Very nice of her. You know, I can tell you this, and I don't usually make very many political statements on this show because A, I'm Canadian and it doesn't affect me, and B, you know, I try and stay away from politics. But as much as it comes down to the two candidates, it is scary if you look at Hillary compared to Donald. Donald may be a wingnut, but at least he'll get some control when he's in the White House, control, in other words, other people. But Hillary, she scares the living hell out of me, and I'm saying that as a foreigner.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, she has the same effect on a lot of us here, too.
Yeah, I try to stay out of politics. It does no good for me to be posting or talking about it. But I'm scared to death what's going to take place. Because, we're here in central Pennsylvania, and our economy has not improved at all here. There's no discretionary income. And 4 more years of these economic policies and running these big debts are going to kill us all. And if we get killed, a lot of other people get killed too.
That's one of those sad situations, is the collateral damage that goes along with it.
That is exactly correct. And it's right now we're facing this conspiracy of the media is what's allowing this to take place. When we had our First Amendment, nobody ever considered that the newspapers and the media would be taking a role in trying to advance a candidate. I mean, they were given media protections so that they could remain neutral and beat on both parties, which, Lord knows, I'd love to see taking place. But no, I think it all ties back to this New World Order thing that we were talking about earlier.
Oh, my. Heavy, heavy stuff, my friend.
Yeah, just call me Mr. Cheerful.
Well, boy, you sure know how to put a smile on our faces tonight, Barry Strohm.
I waited till the 3rd hour, you know.
Sure enough. Well, I was holding off on the New World Order talk for that long because I knew it was going to be one of those take a deep breath moments and just go for it. When you have communicated with the Spirit Board in regards to this year's election, whether you have or not, I'm hoping you have, fingers crossed.
We have.
Is is the whole point of the big fear going into this election the fact that Donald Trump has shown the public that he is anti-establishment, or is he part of the establishment but just doesn't care what the establishment thinks?
They will not answer that. We have tried. I have rephrased it, and I wind up getting a lecture from the guides that they're not going to tell me that. There's things we just have to find out, unfortunately. It's a little bit like dying. You're not going to know until you get there.
Have they told you who's going to win the election?
No, they keep ducking the question. They just won't say. All they'll say was that things will quiet down after the election.
Well, we hope so. And we only have, well, let's see, your election is on the 8th, I believe?
Yeah, the 8th. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, up here in Canada, we never know the date until they call it.
Yeah, you got your own problems up there.
Well, don't even start with me. Between our prime minister and these damn clowns running around all over the place,
yeah,
I don't know what the hell to think anymore.
I think the clown thing is just very appropriate right now.
Oh, don't even get me started on that, because I hate clowns. I hate clowns. And you see, now what you've done is you have opened up this door, this Pandora's box of Spaced Out Radio, and you're not here every night. I am. Now people are going to start posting clown pictures like Robert Rose has just posted. Now the comments will start, and somehow it'll get into garden gnomes, because my audience knows that I fear the hell out of those little ceramic bastards.
And well, you should.
And as I'm saying that, Eric Markham posts and gnomes, and here's Trip. Here come the gnomes. So thank you. You know, and there's Joe posting a picture of Hillary beside the Joker from Batman, and they look the same.
Oh yeah.
You know, man, you just opened up a Pandora's box for me. And I got to go to bed with this crap now on my mind.
Sorry, Dave.
Oh, you know, when I go to Utah to visit you guys, when you finally get there, drinks are on you. That's all I'm saying, all because of this.
That'll be our pleasure.
There's no Mormon bar in my house. You're good.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes. And now Steve in Australia is posting gnome clowns. That's all I need, is a combination of those two evil things. Wow. Wow. Man, I'm fired up now. I'm fired up. Let's get to another conspiracy here.
Okay.
You say you were able to discover the secrets of Billy the Kid.
Indeed, yes. Billy the Kid was a pretty cool guy. Except that Pat Garrett didn't shoot him. It seems like everything you look into is a conspiracy. Nothing in the history books is about like you hear. Billy the Kid was quite a guy. He wasn't the nicest guy in the world, and he did have a killing record. And Pat Garrett was marshal and was supposed to track him down. When Billy made his last break, he actually killed 2 lawmen, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and they really put some heavy money on him as a reward. So Pat Garrett goes into this town where he feels the kid is staying. And as it turns out, Billy and a friend of his are actually in the same town, and Billy's friend decides that he wants to go over and get a piece of fresh meat that has been butchered, and Billy tells him not to do it because he felt the marshals were there, and he says, no, I'm going to, they've butchered a cow over here, and I'm going to go over and then get some meat for our dinner. And it so turns out that Pat Garrett is in hiding, the same place that they butchered this cow. And the kid's friend goes over, and Pat Garrett shoots him in the back thinking it's Billy the Kid. Well, the kid finds out hears the gunshots, comes out and actually gets in a gunfight with the marshals, and then he takes off. He's got several wounds, but he heads for Mexico. Well, Garrett realizes that he has killed an innocent person. And even if you're a U.S. Marshal, you're not supposed to shoot an innocent person in the back 2 times. So he immediately gets the body buried and tells everybody that he's killed Billy the Kid. Well, the kid takes off and heads for Mexico, changes his name, and actually participates in Cody's Wild West show for several years. In the 1940s, a newspaper guy starts to interview a fellow by the name of Bushy Bill in Texas. He's now in his late 80s. And this guy turns out to claim that he is actually Billy the Kid. And they introduce this fella to some members of that actually knew the kid, and his old friends say, yep, that's him. And the guy has like 27 injuries on his body that corresponds to those of Billy the Kid. And, you know, we went in and we channeled and we asked the questions. And yes, this Bushy Bill is actually Billy the Kid. And Garrett made up the whole story of his murder.
And that is pretty much the story that was told in the Hollywood movie Young Guns. So you're actually telling me a Hollywood movie got it right?
For a change, yeah. The one that didn't get it right was the one about I'm getting late here. The one about Butch Cassidy, because Butch Cassidy didn't die in Bolivia either, and that movie was all wrong about the ending of it. Butch Cassidy was a pretty cool guy also, and he outsmarted everybody. And Butch Cassidy dies in 1936 in the state of Washington as a businessman.
Did you ever look into D.B. Cooper?
No, I thought about it, but every time I get on, I forget to do it.
I would love for you to look up that one, especially since a few weeks ago, the FBI officially closed the case on that, as there was no more evidence coming through.
I'll check him out.
Would you be able to pick something up on that if he was still alive?
Yeah, sure. The guys will know whether he's alive or not.
Wow. That is one that I am just thrilled in. And it's funny because I've tried probably 6 or 7 different people to try and get someone on this show talking about D.B. Cooper. And it never, ever seems to work. It's just one of those topics, you know, and you look for patterns when you're doing a show like this. Like, for instance, I have tried to do religious type shows, whether it's about God and, you know, not so much God, but I tried to do a show on, you know, all these for-profit preachers that are out there not paying taxes yet are, you know, asking for new Learjets and, you know, new properties and all that. That show got wiped out by a storm because the gentleman literally in Florida had a hurricane force winds come through. Anytime I've tried to talk about something dark, I've never been able to get a hold of the guest the day of the show, even though they know and they've responded that they'll be on the show that night. It's been weird. It's been absolutely weird. Like, I'm not supposed to talk about those topics.
No, they usually talk about most anything we ask them. They'll tell us if they don't want to answer, but usually they're very forthcoming. They'll never tell us anything about, for instance, if I was to ask them, you know, how many years is going to be till I die, they're not going to answer anything personal like that. But generally they'll step up. They won't give you anything that's going to change history. That if they would give me a piece of information that I could put out that would affect the way things are supposed to go, they won't do that. But generally, in hindsight, I have no problem finding information.
Let's move on as we try and jam as many of these in before the top of the hour.
Okay.
Battle of Bighorn, General George Custer. Who killed him?
He thinks Crazy Horse killed him. Yeah, he was. That's a really cool story. We talked to Custer himself, and his personality was exactly as it was in life. He showed the same arrogance. He said he got in trouble because he wouldn't believe his scouts. The scouts warned him of the size of the party, and he didn't trust any of his scouts. And he was actually wounded in the charge that he was leading against the village. When he crossed the Little Bighorn to attack the village, he was hit in the lower abdomen with a musket ball, and it knocked him off the horse, and that ended the charge. And they loaded him back up on the horse and took themselves back up on the Last Stand Hill, and that was kind of the end of it when he got up there. He was actually outgunned. The last stand basically lasted about 20 minutes. It was a very short battle. But I asked him if he sees Crazy Horse on the other side, and his statement was, "No, I don't see him. I think he killed me." So he believes Crazy Horse is the one that pulled the trigger, and he was actually killed by a shot in the temple.
What was the purpose of him going into that battle?
He was afraid that the Indians would disperse and he would lose track of them. Two things. He wanted the glory of being able to beat them, and he had no idea that he was outnumbered 10-1. He claims that he never saw the size of the village until he topped the coulee. The coulee is a gully out west. And he tops this hill and he looks down and he sees it. And by this time, he's got Reno fighting, and he feels he has to attack to try to take some of the pressure off of Reno. And he totally underestimated the size of his enemy.
So basically, he blew it.
He blew it, yeah. He knows it. He's well aware of it.
How does he accept it? Because he would have cost a lot of lives on that day.
His last statement to me was, "The Indians won. That's the end of it." You know, he's a warrior. He had all through the Civil War. He fought. You know, he had people killed. If you fought under Custer, the odds were pretty good that something was going to happen to you, because he lost a lot of his men through the Civil War, the various battles. And this is really no different. It's a reality that he just accepts. It's part of it.
Let's continue on here, moving on. General George Patton.
Right.
I'm very curious what you learned about the great American general of World War II.
Well, I started trying to talk to Patton because I figured that the Russians might have been behind killing him. Everybody talks about a conspiracy with Patton, but it's just that, you know, he was killed in an accident over in Germany, and that was the end of it. The conspiracy was who was behind it. Was it the Russians who really killed him? And we did 3 different sessions with General Patton. And some of the stuff he told me, I had an incredible hard time believing. It turns out that he really wasn't killed in Germany, that it was a plot by the American generals to get rid of him. A little bit of background: Patton wanted to attack the Soviet Union at the end of the war. He realized that they were going to be the true menace in Europe. And his Third Army was ordered not to go into Berlin at the end of it, because the deal was made that the Soviets were going to be allowed to come into the city. And Patton realized that this was a major screw-up. And he actually got into a battle with Eisenhower over it, and there was a lot of bitterness between them. So he goes back after the war is over in Europe. He goes back and does a public tour, and he's immensely popular back here. And Eisenhower and the president at this point do not want him being involved in the political package. So they send him back over to Europe and basically give him a desk job, and they're trying to get rid of him. Well, when a general or an officer retires from the Army, they're still tied to a code of conduct as long as they retire. But if you resign, you are not tied into that code of conduct. So Patton tells some of his friends over there that he is planning that he is going to resign so that he can come back and say what he wants and possibly run for office back in the United States. Well, apparently, that was not what was going to take place. So our own generals set up a plan to make it look like the Nazis, the underground that's still left over, attempted to kill him. So they said that apparently they set this Jeep accident up, and he winds up, they broke his neck in it, put him in the hospital, and then put a story out that he passed in the hospital a couple weeks after, he was admitted. What he told me was, the reality was that they brought him back to this country as an invalid and actually held him in an underground hospital in Virginia for a while and then moved him out to San Francisco, and that he was actually held prisoner as an invalid for 18 years until he finally dies. And he was when he finally does pass, they actually buried him at sea, and that in the casket over in Germany, where he's supposed to be buried, it's actually empty. We did 3 different sessions with him. He would tell me stuff. I would go back and do research on it. He actually told us the name of the nurse that cared for him, gave me the address of the hospitals where he was held. I laid the story out as he told it to me, and people can read it, and they can believe it or not believe it. But I strongly suspect that the detail that he laid out to us is the way things took place.
Talk about throwing an American hero under the bus.
That's exactly what happened. Yep.
When they tell you stories like this from the other side, are they emotional about it? Are they angry about it? Do they have any feeling, or do they take it as that's just the way it is?
Oh, no. Patton is absolutely furious about this. He wants this told, and he told me that he will get justice, and he will get it while he is still on the other side, and he is planning on coming back. Part of the idea of telling me the story and getting it published is, I think, part of his plan to get even with it. But no, he is thoroughly, thoroughly pissed off. There's no question. He referred to a bunch of the players that were involved in the plan as assholes. And no, he's upset.
Couple other questions from the audience here, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Eric is asking, I guess there was a rumor or a story where Patton thought he was reincarnated from Roman times. Did you ever ask him that?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, there's a real twist to this story. I thanked him for coming at the end of the second session. I thanked him for coming through for us. And his answer was, "Son, I selected you." And I'm going, now what in the hell's going on here? So I went in and asked the guides, I said, has our souls ever crossed before? And the guides come back and say, yes, your souls have crossed in 5 different lifetimes. So next time I channel with him, I asked him, in what lifetimes had our souls passed before? And he informed me that in 100 AD in Persia, his soul and my soul were brothers that fought together in the Persian army. And that in all of his prior lives, he has always been a military man, and he has fought in the different battles all through the ages. In the movie, he talks about fighting the Corinthians. He said that was accurate. He did. And he informed me that in one lifetime we were brothers, and in another lifetime he was my uncle. And in three others we were acquaintances, and that was why he brought his story out to me to have it told.
Wow. You're like a beacon for him.
Yeah. It's now when he told me he selected me, that it wasn't me asking him. A lot of this stuff is preordained. It's amazing what spirits on the other side can do. They have incredible abilities from other there to do things. And I think this is a prime example of it.
We only got about 3 minutes left with you, Barry. I want to get in a couple more questions here before I got to start wrapping this up. Eric wants to know a follow-up question. Do people like Patton try to get even with the folks that screwed them on the other side?
Hell yes, and many times.
How do you get revenge on that? Do you say, well, I'm going to beat you to it, or this next lifetime, or how do they do it?
Well, I think it is telling his story. I'm bringing it out, and the detail that he's given me is amazing. When you read this chapter in my book, you will see amazing detail. He lays it right out. Who was responsible? And I think that making this public information is part of him getting even. And here I am talking about it on the radio. So this is all part of his plan.
Next question.
And I just heard this voice in my said, "Go get him, kid."
well, when the book comes out, we'll get you back on, and we'll see if there's any more. And we're going to have to get a list for you. I'm trying to rush here because I have a few more questions. Tripp wants to know, did Hitler ever make it to Brazil?
No. Hitler crossed the aliens, and he was killed by his own men in the bunker.
Wow. Ron Moniak wants to know, who killed Marilyn Monroe?
Our government.
Was that tied to all the assassinations with JFK?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Too bad. She was so good looking. So good looking.
Yeah, but she slept around.
Yeah, well, you know.
She slept with the wrong ones. Let's just put it that way.
Who wouldn't go there?
I ain't arguing that point with you, but I'm just telling you, she screwed up.
And one final question for tonight. Have you ever contacted Nikola Tesla?
No, but I'm thinking about it. He comes through for a lot of people. I think that'd be one hell of an interview.
Yes, we need to find out if he's still at war with Thomas Edison over everything, because that would be a good one. That would be a heavyweight match at WrestleMania. Definitely.
Indeed it would. But I did touch on the fellow that actually invented motion pictures was mysteriously killed, and I do talk about that in the book. And Edison was blamed for his murder, but had nothing to do with it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting show tonight, my friend. I am so glad to get you back on the air. You know you can come on anytime with us because you got that pull around here.
Okay. I'll take you up on it.
I hope so. Otherwise, I think once your book comes out and the hardback or the hard copy is available, hardcover is available, I think we got to do this again.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a copy of it when it comes out.
I would like to, come up with a list, and maybe before the next show, we could present you with that list a few weeks beforehand just to see what you are able to get. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, make up a list of questions. Use some of the things that your listeners send to you, and send me the questions in writing, and I'll do a session where I try to get the answers for you, and we'll see how it works out.
Absolutely. You hold on, Mr. Strohm. I know you don't like it when I call you that, but I'm going to. I'm going to wrap this thing up.
Okay.
If you're on the Space Out Radio side, you got Bumblefoot playing along because Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. He rocks us in and out of every show that we do, night in and night out. Great, great man as well. Tell him you heard his music on Spaced Out Radio. He will message you back. He's actually that cool of a dude. Tomorrow night on the show, we wrap up the week talking paranormal sleepovers. On Alicia Trees, her friend Renee, and Ellen, they'll be with us tomorrow night, talking ghosts, spirits, the Shanghai tunnels in Portland, and a lot more. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to wrap this thing up by saying you can listen to this show and all of our other shows on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can tune it in on TuneIn, or if you have an iTunes account, you can find all our shows there as well. Just download them right to your iPad, your iPhone, your Mac computer. It's right there. On that note, we are going to escape. I will talk to you in exactly 21 hours from now. Space Out Radio, 7 days a week. Do us a favor. Tell a friend. Because that's how we're going to grow this big bad boy as it continues to launch. And we are heading out. Have a good one.